Well, alright y'all, we're back today with another build, and we're obviously focusing on the Terminator franchise, and we're going with the TechCom Resistance. Now for this build, we're going to be focusing on just fighting the Automatons, much like how in our previous video, we did the Roughnecks, and that was just for the Terminates. For this one, again, just for the bots. But before we get into the build overview and kind of what everything can do, if you like Helldivers 2 content, we do thematic builds around here. Not necessarily like super optimized, but fun, viable builds that you can bring into those higher tier difficulties, including tier 10, and just kind of have like a fun play style. And yeah, if that's your thing, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. The last video I did, you knocked it out of the park with the comments. Everybody was pretty good, and yeah, comment below if something piques your interest. If you got nothing to say, you can comment and say, hey, Nomad, your black shirt today, it's looking extra black or something. Let's get into the build. All right, and for this build, okay, so we're talking about only on the automaton side, and we're mostly going to focus on the higher tier difficulty. So something like a Scout Strider, it's not happening. It's only going to be the Rocket Striders. Then apart from that, it's really just a bunch of heavy and massive targets. There's going to be a shit ton of Devastators, so that's kind of the sandbox that we're playing in here. Now for the theme we're going for the TechCom Resistance in Terminators. Now if you don't know what TechCom is, it's basically the resistance military group that forms after the Skynet apocalypse, where they basically nuke most of humanity. And they're a pretty ragtag military operation. They don't have a bunch of military assets because again, everything got nuked. Air superiority actually goes to Skynet with their hunter-killer drones. So while TechCom does have like Air Force and air assets, they're very limited and have to be very conservative on like where they use them. But we're going to be focusing more on Terminator 1 and 2, those future scenes that you get, those I guess they're not necessarily flashbacks, but yeah, the future scenes you get there, and then a little bit from Salvation. I think Salvation kind of gets a bad rep, but it's the only Terminator that actually it's the only Terminator movie that actually breaks from the mold of 1 and 2, so I give it a lot of preference for that. It's not a horrible movie. Are we slowly turning into a movie channel? Maybe. No, not really. We're running out of movies, guys, so let that panic slowly sink in. Now, equipment-wise here, I went with either the Scorcher or the Purifier. The TechCom Resistance, they basically use their own custom-built pulse rifle that they take from the Terminators and basically just outfit it for humanity. So we went with one of these two options here. I'll give an honorable mention to the Sickle. It's just Sickle maybe not the best option in the higher tier, again, because there's not that many light targets. You're mostly focusing on Devastators and those Rocket Striders, and of course you got the other heavy hitters like the Hulk and tanks and such. But when it comes to these two primary weapons here, I actually am going to lean a little bit more towards the Purifier, even though functionality wise I think the Scorcher is a little bit closer to what the TechCom Resistance uses. But the Purifier, if you are unaware and don't know that this thing got buffed, this thing performs extremely well now. That charge up shot is able to two-shot most of that medium kind of chaff enemy type. So yeah, that is the Rocket Striders and the Devastators. It's pretty amazing at that. But the Scorcher, it still performs, it still does its job pretty well. It is a little bit of an ammo dump into those Rocket Striders, but other than that, it's still a very solid pick. So for the secondary, we went with the Grenade Pistol because in Salvation, John Connor, this is his secondary. He uses, I guess he uses also a regular pistol, but regular sidearm, the ammo, like the ammunition, the caliber is a little too weak against, metal objects or metal Terminators like the T-800s. But the Grenade Pistol, I think this thing fits extremely well into this kit. It lets you close up those fabricators really easily, and just do, it's a nice weapon to swap to kind of take out a Devastator if you, say, are in the middle of a reload between your Scorcher and your Purifier or something like that. So Grenade Pistol, very solid pick. Grenade-wise, we went with kind of like a sticky grenade that, again, for TechCom, they're fighting the apocalypse here, so they'd be crawling on the ground stuff. So like a sticky grenade kind of feels very appropriate because it's a little more of like an urban guerrilla tactics. Now I can give like a little bit of a mention to the regular grenades that we have. They did get a little bit of a buff, but I don't know if you guys had used them. They're still not that great. I don't like the feel of the regular grenades in this game, especially when you have the impact, which now it does do less damage, but the impact just gives you that instant feedback, and I just feel like the impact grenade just feels way better than the other grenades. But I think for this build, I think the Thermite, it works just fine, and luckily the Thermite it rocks. It'll take out Hulks, it'll take out tanks, it'll take out turret towers. The Thermite is almost like a go-to that can handle everything if like your stratagems are down, you're out of ammo, or you are, you get the drop on the enemies. The Thermite is excellent. Or if you just need to go, I don't know, on a suicide mission and just get something killed like a factory strider. You can just run up there, spam grenades at it, and then maybe you get out, maybe you don't, but there's a good chance that factory strider is going to die or be near to death. And then for the armor up there, I put extra padding. I feel like that's really helpful, especially against the bots. We don't want to go into that heavy armor category because, again, TechCom, they're already on their back foot as military. You know, they have to scrap together all basically the resources that humanity's military has left. And so we want to stick more to that medium light armor. Fun fact about the extra padding, did you guys know that the heavy armor also has an extra padding? So it's like extra padding. Yeah, if you watched my last loadout, you know I forgot about that. So kind of trying to make up for it, but don't pick the heavy variant. I mean, you can, but don't. So real quick, let's go over what the equipment can cover here. So you've got your medium chaff covered here with the Scorcher or the Purifier. Thermite grenade for those heavy targets, or even massive in buildings and structures. Grenade pistol, excellent for fabricators. And then extra padding armor, it's going to give you some more survivability. The armor kit is always kind of up to you. I just kind of have to put something in there, and this is what I'm choosing this time. But so far, you can see that your kit here, just the equipment, it can handle everything the bots can throw at you at higher tier. Now, how efficient you are at killing them, that's another story. But just know, with just the equipment here, you can handle every target that comes at you. So even if you're being reinforced all the time, you're going to be able to put in some work or contribute to your team in some way. But thankfully, we still have our stratagems, and those are going to help us out even more. So let's go to the stratagems. Now, moving on to the stratagems here. I know a couple of you are looking at that first one, strafe and run. Nomad, have you come around on the strafe and run? Do you actually think it's pretty good? And the answer is no, I am sticking to my guns. I'd say it's like trying to win me over. I'm trying to use the strafe run a lot because I can see the value and like how it performs and what it can do. It's just in practice, still not exactly gelling with me all the way, but I am trying. But for this stratagem loadout here, I think this fits perfectly with the theme we're going for. We're going with the strafe and run and the 500 kg. This is a great chaff clear and then a heavy hitter with the 500 kg. So those are how I would kind of combine those. When you need to get into the middle of a base, or there's a large like heavy and massive group of bots, or like a drop or something like that, the 500 kg is perfect for that. And then the strafe and run, obviously, if you catch a bot patrol that is in that line column formation, the strafe and run, it does a pretty excellent job of taking them all out in that way. And it's also very safe for your squad mates not to get destroyed most of the time. Now, and the last thing I'll mention about the strafe and run, it does do structure damage, so you can kill a fabricator with it. The strafe and run, it's almost like a jack of all trades, and you can spam it. Luckily, I usually don't like the spam stratagems, but because all my other stratagem picks here are going to be a little more on like a higher cooldown or like a little more niche, I'm okay with bringing it here. Now, for our stratagem weapon, you can go with technically any of the rockets. So I went with the EAT because I like the way it looks on your Helldiver. I think it gives them that ragtag guerrilla look. But obviously, if you don't want to use the EAT, you can use the recoilless. Obviously, that's like the best pick right now, I think, overall for the rocket category. And then I always forget about the red-headed stepchild of the rockets, the cluster bomb. This thing is just not really meant for the bots. You would think that because of like how gunships were performing, that when we get an anti-air rocket launcher, that it would be able to kill them. But no, this thing it doesn't kill them. It's essentially just, I think it's meant for, obviously, on the Terminator side. It's meant for dealing with their flying rats, and it's also a decent chaff clear, and it can do damage to those heavy targets, but it does not perform as well as the other rocket launchers. So that's my pick for a stratagem weapon there. Obviously, you have a lot of choices. Something like a quasar cannon, not really something that we would see the resistance using. And then so for my last pick here, you got a couple options here. The anti-personnel minefield, this is actually a pretty good stratagem, both in the open field operations and obviously in defensive missions. The only thing is, squad mates are kind of dumb sometimes. This could kill them all the time. And then you obviously would need to bait, a patrol or a drop into them. So just know with the mines, they're a decent pick. You see there's a minefield scene in Salvation. So that's kind of why I picked it here. More of a niche pick, but I think they're really useful. But if you don't want to go with that, I think mortar is completely acceptable. This gives you kind of that light artillery option. And of course, in those eradicate missions, the mortar is excellent. But if you don't want any of those like stationary targets, obviously any of the barrages I think would do. And barrages in general, I think they really shine on the automaton side, especially when you need to soften up or outright destroy a base that's like has a command bunker or something like that. And then for the booster, I just went with Vitality just to help out with survivability. I do find that Helldiver's life expectancy is a little bit shorter in the Automaton missions. I feel like Automaton missions, they tend to go tits up quicker than, say, a Terminator mission. So more survivability, that just helps out everybody. So looking at both the equipment and the stratagems, just our kit overall, on the equipment side, we can handle everything that the bots can throw at us. Usually you want to use you want to stick to those usually when like you're just running into a patrol or before they start calling in dropships. And then obviously when shit hits the fan, you've got your 500 kg. The strafe and run will help out, clear up things that, line up in a column. You got your rocket launcher there. Obviously I would use those for hitting drops or tanks. And usually every rocket launcher will one-shot a Hulk if you hit him in the eye or the back. And then when you need more of that utility or defensive or way to soften up the automaton base, you could, pick the barrage, the mortar, or the minefield. That's more of the option pick. I would definitely lock in the strafe and run, the 500 kg, and some form of rocket launcher for yourself. And then that last one is kind of up to you. But yeah, with this kit here, you basically have everything covered. If you haven't checked out the Purifier and that update yet, I would totally give that thing a spin. You can be very conservative with the ammo, just having to charge it up. But if you do need to kill things really quickly, you can just use that semi-automatic fire. Using the Scorcher or the Purifier a lot, they're going to run into a little bit of an ammo economy issue, but that's kind of the trade-off you get with those two weapons because they are so powerful. So yeah, that's my TechCom resistance loadout. That's a build. That's what I would use. Let me know what you guys would change up. Obviously, what I'm picking here may not work for you, or maybe you have something else in mind, or maybe I forgot something. So if I did forget something, let me know in the comments below. And then maybe tell me which one of the Terminator films are your favorite. I'm a sucker for the first two and Salvation, and the other ones are just kind of a rinse and repeat from the first two. They just kind of fit into the same mold. Oh, and before we get to the kind of the state of the galaxy, just real quick more on the Terminator side. Man, did any of you guys ever play Gary's mod? It's a Half-Life 2 basically offshoot that just utilizes the source engine that you can do a bunch of like wacky things. Anyways, Gary's mod, they had a Terminator server. I was on that Terminator server for like, I think 2 years straight. So I got a lot of my, Terminator love from there. And then man, making this build video, oof. Brought back some memories. Anywho, onto the state of the galaxy. A little bit of a state of the galaxy. Now that we have the 60-day patch to save the game is out, I think it's an excellent job. I'm having more fun with the game than I think I have since launch, and that's because everything is pretty viable in all tier difficulties. But now that we have everything kind of in a good spot balance-wise, I think we need to start looking forward to more things as far as more tools for us to kill the enemies with, more enemy variants, maybe start talking about that third faction out there. But definitely the bots and the Terminids, adding some new variety there. I know we got the jetpack bots, which they're okay. I didn't really find them that menacing. They're kind of funny because if you shoot them in the air, they'll flip out, and sometimes they'll run into another bot that's also midair, and so they'll just kind of blow up each other. So that's kind of comedic. But overall, they're all pretty fun to kill. And yeah, as far as the major orders go, I'm hoping we wrap up the space station thing soon, because at this point it kind of feels like it's dragging a little bit. And then yeah, next up, I think I'm gonna make a video on just like a Halloween game, like a spooky game that I like to play. Probably not going to do as well for the channel, but it's my first time having a YouTube channel during the Halloween time, and I am a big like survival horror guy too. I do enjoy those games, so I might just put up like a little thoughts review video on the game that I choose. But other than that, we're going to be doing more tier lists, more builds obviously, and yeah, thanks for sticking it out to the end of the video here, and
I'll be back.